Welcome to Imprint, a podcast about creating a home and life you love. I'm Natalie Walton, an interior designer, stylist, and best-selling author focused on an holistic approach to homes. Each week, I'm sharing insights and interviews about the creative process to help you enhance both your interiors and well-being, as well as provide you with the tools and resources to make considered and sustainable choices with all that you create. Hello everyone, and welcome to Imprint. I am really looking forward to sharing today's conversation with you because it is something that comes up so often when I speak to people who are at the start of their journey and really wanting to pursue their dreams, to pursue their passions, but there's something holding them back. And so we're going to look at that today. What is holding you back potentially, and how can you overcome the hurdles that you are putting in front of yourself? Because we all have dreams, but what is it that separates someone who steps towards their dreams with someone who lets them slip by? So I think this episode is going to be really powerful for you if you've been putting your dreams off for too long. It feels like there's a long list of reasons that you can very validly say that, I haven't done it because of this, and I've had children, and I've done this, and we moved house, and blah, 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 and all of the reasons. And you can rattle them off so confidently and so easily. And yet, when you look back on your life, will you remember those reasons, or will you just remember the fact that you didn't pursue your dreams? This episode is also going to be really helpful for you if you want to step forward, but you just feel a bit nervous, worried, or scared. You just sort of think like, I want to do it, but all of these reasons keep popping up for me. And I don't know how to get past all of these doubts and all of these worries. And this episode's also going to be really helpful for you if maybe you're ready to take action. You kind of have made that resolution to yourself. Okay, this is it. I'm going to do it. This is the year it's going to happen. I'm tired of just putting up with those excuses. I'm tired of listening to myself, and I'm going to make it happen. But you just need some encouragement. You just need a gentle little push. And so this was what this episode is going to be for you, because there is so much talk about, just follow your dreams. But I want this episode to be really practical for you, showing you the steps to make it happen. And I truly believe this. I truly believe that we hear things for a reason. And so if you clicked on this episode, if you are listening to this episode, if maybe a friend has shared this episode with you because you've been talking about your dreams and how you're sick and tired of yourself and you really want to make it happen, and maybe they recommended this podcast to you, then what I want you to know is that you are in the right place. And so I really want to help you move from thinking, who am I to do this? Who am I to pursue my passion for interiors? Or who am I to follow my dreams? And instead to think, why not me? Why shouldn't I be able to do this? There are so many people out there who are doing it, who are making this happen. Why shouldn't that be me? I can do this. I'm a smart person. I'm a capable person. I can do these things. And I know you. I know you listening to this podcast right now. I know that you are smart. I know that you are clever. I know that you're hardworking. And yet you still keep putting it off. You still keep finding excuses. And so I'm going to give you some really practical steps in this episode, but my big encouragement is that you take action on these ideas, that you do one thing today that helps you move closer to your dreams. So what I want you to know is that, yes, there are challenges in our way, and we're going to talk about how we can face our challenges. And you might think, well, I haven't done this before. Whatever your dream is, you might think, I haven't done this before. I haven't created a book before. I haven't exhibited my art in a gallery. I haven't worked with a client before. I haven't done this before. And so you're holding yourself back because of what you haven't done. And let me tell you a little secret. Everybody who has done something at one point hadn't done something. So there is plenty of evidence around the world that it's entirely possible to do something that you haven't done before. And I'm sure there are many, many examples in your own life where you did something that you hadn't done before. If you have given birth, before you gave birth, you had never done that before, and yet you did it. You managed to do it. There are so many examples. Maybe you ran a marathon or a half marathon, or if you live in Sydney, the city to surf, or whatever it is. And before you did that, you had never done that before. You didn't know what it was like. You didn't know what it was going to be like to go up Heartbreak Hill. And you didn't know what that feeling was going to be like, but you did it. You made a commitment to yourself and you did it. We can also worry that we've left it too late. Is this something that you've ever said to yourself? I've left it too late. I should have done this years ago and it's too late for me. I hear so often people say, I'm too old. I'm too old to be doing this. Too old by whose standards? And, we live in a world now where it's highly probable that our generation is going to be living to 100. It's highly probable. So what are we going to do with the next, 50, 60, 70 years of our life? Too old for who? It's too late by whose standards? The only limitations that we place on ourselves are from ourselves. I mean, look at, is it Jane Goodall, with the chimps? I think she's like in her 90s. I mean, it's amazing. I was actually just talking to one of my colleagues. It was incredible. She was telling me that she goes to a local gym. She's based in America. And in this gym, she loves her gym. And she said she does strength training alongside a woman who is 93. 93! Isn't that amazing? A woman out there is 93 going to her local gym doing strength training. If she can go and do strength training at a gym and she's 93, you, and I know you're not 93 who's listening to this podcast, because I know many of you are kind of around my age, you have got no reason to not be following your dreams. The third thing that comes up for us a lot is that often, and I've definitely been in this situation, is sometimes we're surrounded with people who aren't living their dreams. And so we don't have an example of what's possible. And this can happen a lot. Maybe you live in a community, maybe you live in an area and, people are just kind of doing 9-to-5 jobs. They don't really love their job. They just live for their weekend. And that is who you are surrounded by within, your kind of local community. And so you really feel that discomfort of stepping up and stepping out and kind of like, who am I to do this? I was actually talking to somebody within Design and Grow just yesterday because I do lots of consultations on a Wednesday. And, she was saying this in relation to creating a new Instagram account. She's like, I've always been posting photos of dogs and my travels. And, people might think, why are you suddenly, posting photos of your illustrations and your art? And so she has to disassociate herself from worrying about what other people will think of her. And of course, there are strategies to do that. I mean, it's quite simple. You just create a new account. If that's what your worry is, invite other people across. But, we can get stuck with these things. But what it's really important to know is that it's just a process. Following your dreams is just a process. It is a process that you can break down into steps, into easy, small steps that you can take. We think we think of our dreams and we see that kind of that big, shiny ideal in the future. And it's important to put our radar on that shiny ideal and head towards it and keep focused on it. But it's also important to break that journey down into steps. And when we do that, and then we focus on, okay, these are the steps that I need to take to get there, it's so much easier. To create a book. It's like to be a published author was such a big dream for me for so many years. And, for so many years, I think that held me back throughout my 20s. I was so stuck. I was just going around in this loop of not being able to make it happen. And then it was like, okay, I've got to get a proposal together. When we start to get these things, I thought I had to have a completely finished manuscript first. Well, you don't. I just needed to get a proposal together and some examples that I could show. So, when we break it down, it's so much easier. And I want you to know it's never too late. It is never, ever too late. Think about where you are right now, what age you are right now. And if you were to ask yourself in 10 years' time, so at a, if you're 35, let's say you're 35, when you're 45, do you think that your 45-year-old self is just not going to be doing anything? Or do you think your 55-year-old self, or maybe your 65-year-old self? They're not. They're still going to be pursuing dreams and having goals. So get started today. Get started now. It's never too late. And another opportunity is that, if we are surrounded with people who aren't living their dreams, I understand that. Sometimes we want to live in an area because maybe our family is there. Maybe we've got elderly parents. Maybe we want our children to still be connected with their grandparents. There are so many reasons why we live where we live. Maybe we've got, other things that are going on. But we can still surround ourselves with other people who are on a similar journey. And it has never been easier to do this. We have got it at our fingertips, quite literally. If you have got a phone or you've got a laptop, you have got a way to connect with other people who are on a similar journey to you. I know for me, when I was, in the years when I was going to university, and that sort of just finished high school, and where I was living then, it was actually really frowned upon within the kind of social group that I was in to go to university. Like if you went to university, you thought that you were better than everyone because most of the people were doing trades. And I had to really step into my discomfort to do what was right for me. And what happened was that the more that I stepped into that discomfort and made an effort to start connecting with people who were, going to university and getting to know them, then a whole new world opened up for me. And that was really a huge, huge milestone in my life of actually, creating some kind of distance from the people who were in many ways just kind of putting me down and putting my dreams down. So it's so much easier now, though. It's so much easier now to connect with other people who are on that similar journey. So let's look at 3 ways that you can step from who am I to do this to why not me. First of all, I want you to know that there is room for you. Everyone has something that they can contribute. Your ideas are worthy. Your talents are worthy. Your skills are worthy. And you can make a difference no matter how big or small. I think sometimes we get caught up on, we all have dreams of different magnitudes. It's kind of like earthquakes. Some of us just want to create a little tremor and some of us want to really flatten something. It's kind of not a very nice analogy, but, we all have different dreams and it's at different levels. Maybe you just want to open a shop and it's something that you've always wanted to do and you want to open a shop. Or maybe you want to have your work on the cover of Architectural Digest. Both those dreams are incredibly valid and they're entirely possible. I mean, anyone who's done either of those things, they just broke it down into a series of steps. So I want you to think about, for the moment, the nettle. It's a weed. Nettles are weeds. Even dandelions are weeds. I remember when I was growing up, I don't know if this is like an English thing, but if you touched a dandelion, people would say, "Oh, you weed your pants." Which is so silly. Aren't kids silly sometimes? And they would try and get a dandelion and rub it into you because then it meant that you were going to wee your pants. And so, weeds often have a very, they've got a bad reputation. And yet there are so many people out there who use what many other people see as weeds and they use it for medicinal purposes, for herbal remedies. So if you look at the dandelion, like I said, it's commonly regarded as a weed, but it's also valued for its medicinal properties. It's rich in vitamins and minerals and has been used to support liver health, aid digestion, and promote detoxification. Maybe that's where the weeing part comes in. Dandelion leaves can be eaten. They can be used in salad or cooked. And their roots are often dried and used to make teas or herbal supplements. Similarly with the nettle, a little while ago, because I have really bad circulation with my fingers and my toes, particularly in winter. And I went to see a naturopath and they recommended that I drink nettle tea. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And the reason is that, again, a nettle is considered a weed, but it's rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And it can relieve symptoms of allergies, arthritis. So I think that, it helps the circulation and urinary tract infections. So again, it can be dried and brewed into a tea or used as an ingredient in soups, stews, and other dishes. So think of the humble weed that so many people see weeds as a pest. They see them as something that aren't worthy. And yet there are other people out there who see them as a valuable tool, a valuable resource, something that's actually incredibly valuable and incredibly healthy to maintain health. So I just am using this example to shine a light on that whatever it is that you have on your heart can be something that is of huge value to somebody else. So the second idea that I want to share with you is to have the courage to continue. I think that what can often happen is that sometimes we take that first tentative step, or maybe even a couple of steps, and then we hit a roadblock and we get stuck, or we hit a roadblock and we give up. And so what happens is that we don't continue. We just put down our weapons. We just kind of go, that's it. Put down our pens and papers and we say, that's it. I'm out. I'm done. But what I want you to know and just remind you, because I know that you know this, but sometimes we just need to be reminded that everyone who you look up to has faced challenges. I think it's so easy, particularly in this sort of modern media, social media world, when we're always looking at, the beautiful pictures on other people's feeds and all their amazing announcements and all of those things. And we can just think, they've got it so easy. And we look for all the reasons why they've got it easy. They had wealthy parents, they've got a wealthy partner, they live in the right part of the world, all of they're slim, they're beautiful, whatever it is that comes up, like as a trigger for you. And we look at all the reasons why they have it easy. And yet we don't look for all the reasons why they have maybe faced challenges and kept going, or they've faced challenges and just decided, that's not going to be my story. I'm going to keep going and I'm not going to get stuck. I'm not going to stop at this roadblock. I'm going to knock it down, or I'm going to go around it, or I'm going to find a way past it. And so it's so important that we look and we create open eyes and learn to see the whole picture of the truth of other people's success and the things that we actually want. Because there are always going to be challenges. I mean, it's actually incredibly naive to think that there are not going to be challenges. But sometimes that's what makes us feel safe. And so we all do it. We all do that. We all think like, oh, they've just had it so easy. But we choose not to see the challenges that they have faced, the teams that they've had to grow, the leader that they've had to become, the no's that they've experienced. I mean, I had 2 publishers said no to my book proposal before I got a yes, but I was determined to just keep on going. So it's really important to see the whole picture. I know that there are so many people out there, people who many people reference when they join the Styling Masterclass or when they join my programs. And, we talk about people that they look up to. Kelly Wearstler. I remember when I met Kelly Wearstler, she was launching a fashion label. She was showing on New York Fashion Week, but she's not doing that anymore. That is not to say that she is not a phenomenal success. And it's not to say that she can't do fashion. But at some point she decided, you know what? That's not the right thing for me. I'm going to focus on this lane. I'm going to become the best in this lane. Amber Lewis. I know many of you love the work of Amber Lewis. She's been diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. What a phenomenal challenge to face. And I remember seeing a post with Athena Calderon about renting out her home in Montauk, a holiday home, so that they could pay the mortgage. occasionally, if you tune in, you will see that there are so many people out there that we admire, that they face challenges and yet they keep going. They find a way around it. They find a way to make it happen. And they get resourceful and they get scrappy. And so that is my encouragement to you, is that if they can do it, so can you. And if they can get scrappy, so can you. And if they can face roadblocks and get beyond them and get past them, so can you. And so my question for you is, if you were to see the challenges as opportunities for growth, what would that make possible for you? So the third idea that I want to share is that the obstacles are the opportunity. Our success doesn't hinge on whether we face obstacles, because we will. Our success hinges on what happens when we face these obstacles. And so some of the most common obstacles that I hear when maybe it's people wanting to join the styling masterclass, and they say, I don't have the money right now, or I don't have the time right now, or, there's all these other reasons that come up. And yet, if we truly want something, we can find the money. If we truly want to do something, we can find the time. I think this is kind of a bit of a misconception that, people who are really successful, that, they have an extra 24 hours in the day, and when you actually look at them, you look at the people like Kelly Wersler or Amber Lewis, they have phenomenal teams. They've got huge businesses, and yet they find the time to make it happen. And if you don't have a team and you don't have all of those things, you can find the time to make it happen too. So I want you to ask yourself, if you were to see obstacles as an opportunity, what impact would that have on you and your dreams and what's possible for your life? So the three big ideas that I shared with you today is that there is room for you, that everyone is worthy, and that instead of seeing what you do as maybe not important, to remember the humble weeds and what an important role they can play in the health and wellness of other people. And you can be that too for somebody else. Secondly, we looked at the importance of seeing the whole picture and to actually open our eyes to not just the successes that other people have, but to really tap into the challenges that they've faced. And we can go through an exercise and actually give ourselves the opportunity to see, what challenges are we facing and how can we overcome them? Give our brains reason, get them to work for us, get them to be on our side. Our brains are very sophisticated and we can use them to our advantage. And then thirdly, to understand that the obstacle is the opportunity. And sometimes when we face those challenges of thinking we don't have the time to do something. How, when we actually look at it, when we face that head on, we can actually completely change our lives. I know that for so many of you who have children, you thought you had, you struggled with time before you had children. And then you have children and you realize, wow, when that newborn goes down for that nap, how much you can get done in that time. We can be incredibly productive when we choose to. And so that becomes a huge learning opportunity. So I hope that this episode has been valuable. If you've maybe got a friend who is really struggling and you've been listening to them talking over and over and over about how they really want to make this dream happen, but it's just not happening for them, then maybe you could share this episode with them. And if it's you, if you're listening and you have had something on your heart for a long time and you haven't taken action, then I really encourage you to take action on one thing. Take one step towards your dream today. Remember, there's that big, shiny ideal in the distance, but there are the steps that you need to take to get there. So break it down into steps and do one thing today that will help you move closer to that dream. I hope you found this episode valuable. I would love to hear from you. It is episode 185. Please put a comment in the review section if you found this helpful, and I would love to hear from you. You can also send me a DM on Instagram at Natalie Walton. In the meantime, go take action. Go do that thing, and I will see you this time next week. All of the links and info for this episode are at nataliewalton.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a direct download of the latest episode. And I really appreciate when you take a minute to rate and review, as well as share the love with someone you know who might benefit from this episode, or on social media. If you'd like to access a range of free resources, come visit my website, nataliewalton.com. Thank you to Jaeger Media for producing this podcast. And I would also like to acknowledge the people of the Bundjalung Nation where it was recorded, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm Natalie Walton, and you've been listening to Imprint.